Hey, this is Whole Health with Truly Jacob our Writer. Again, Truly Jacob our Writer is my pen, writing, or media name only, so you probably won't see my face. Today, I'm going to go over The Ugly Duckling, written by Hans Christian Andersen originally and illustrated by Roberta and Bomo or whatever. So I'm gonna just give a summary and then be like, what are the moral lessons? And then why did I put it under the channel of Whole Health? With Truly Jacob a Writer, we'll get into that. So we start off where there is a mother duckling and she has a bigger egg under her nest, and she thinks it's really her egg because somehow it's in her nest, but it takes longer for this one to hatch than these, and she's like, well, it's gotta be mine, but maybe it could be somehow some other type of bird or whatever. I don't know. But then when this supposed duckling, he's born, he looks gray instead of golden yellow. And so, like, everyone around him thinks that he's ugly. So it's like, uh-oh, and his supposed siblings thought he was ugly. And then all the different farm animals thought he was ugly and kept picking on him. And so he ran away from the farm as, like, again, he's thinking he's a young duckling, right? So he's running away because everyone's picking on him, and it seemed like there was some kind of abuse going on where the farm girl was, like, kicking him, and other birds were pecking him. So there's bullying or negativity going on in his life. And then he comes across other geese or ducks, and they all think he's ugly. And then he's so ugly that even a dog wouldn't eat him. That's what was going through his head. And then he finds a house with an old lady that has a hen that lays eggs and a cat that purrs. And they even think he's ugly. And they're like, what's wrong with you? You don't lay eggs. You don't purr. What are you good at? Like, what are you good at doing? And he really enjoys, like, swimming in the water. But he didn't have the courage to ask the old lady or whatever, do you like swimming in the water? Like, would this be a skill that you value for a pet? And so he doesn't stay. He goes off, and again it's like, oh, I'm so content just swimming in the water. And then he sees geese, and for some reason he's really happy when he sees these swan geese, and they're flying, and he's drawn to them for some reason. And then winter comes, and someone, like, finds him. He, like, falls off, and he spills over milk and things in the house, and the children think it's funny. Their mother doesn't, but he gets scared and he runs away. Well, he made it through the winter somehow, and he saw swans, and he's like, oh, I think they're going to think I look ugly because, again, he's drawn to the swans. But he sees his reflection in the water finally, and because his feathers changed from gray to white, he's like, oh, I'm a swan. I am handsome. And then he overhears other people admiring, the girl swan's beauty and the boy swan's handsomeness. And so he's like, okay, I'm finally handsome. And he accepts himself for who he is. So for some reason, like as a child, somehow I heard about this story, or this story was told to me somehow, or I might have seen the Disney artistic version of the Ugly Duckling, or cartoon version, or a different cartoon version somewhere. I don't know. Maybe even came across a book. But I don't actually remember looking at all the pictures and reading it. But for some reason, this story stood out to me. And so, as a child, like literally, I was trying to make friends and develop like hardcore, deep, heartfelt relationships with, classmates and different people my age. And it seemed like no matter where I went, no matter what age I was, I cared more about the friendship and the relationship with all these other individuals than they cared about having a relationship with me. And as a adolescent teenager, being a girl, like I developed acne on my face, and then people told me to pick my acne on my face, and it created scars on my face. And so I basically and had like pimples for like pretty much, it wasn't until like 18 when I finally figured out, oh, you need to wash your face more, and like stop touching your face because bad bacteria could get into the hair follicle and cause these pimples and stuff to form. And so literally like I remember going door to door. I was leaving Christian books on a donation basis, and literally I opened the door, and literally this woman was like, you are completely ugly, you are hideous, you need to do something about that, like you have no right coming to my door. And she made me completely cry, because it's like, at least in the past where it's like I thought I was ugly, people are at least kind enough to be like, okay, like I may think you're ugly, but I'm not gonna tell you to your face that you're ugly. But like she literally was like, you're so ugly, you're so, like she acted like I was the most hideous looking person in the universe or the world. And it's like, well, I didn't choose to be born with an ugly face or become ugly. I mean, someone told me I needed to wash my face as an adolescent thing, but it was like, it's like, one of the things I noticed as a child is like, if people played with my hair, if there was like oil on their hair, it like got into my hair because I have super fine hair, and then it made my hair look more greasy. But I really liked people playing with my hair, because it felt so good. It was like getting, like, even though they're not like massaging your scalp, it was like touch was a very loving thing, and it felt really good, and it was very soothing. But it's like, if I wanted the touch, I had to give up my hair looking clean in order for to receive that touch. So it was like, pick or choose. What is more important, feeling loved or your hair staying clean and looking clean? Because it was like, oh, my hair gets that oily that fast if someone touches my head, I guess, without washing their hands. So again, it's like you have this principle of like when you're little, like you're cute or whatever, and people may touch your face or whatever, like, oh, you're so cute, you're so adorable. And so like for me, when I was a little kid, it was like the opposite effect of like, we think you're so cute, we think you're so pretty as this little girl. And they would touch my head or maybe even hug me more or touch my face. And then as I grew up, it's like the safe, loving touch went away. Where it's like people hugged you less, people were less affectionate with me for some reason. And you had the adolescence where it's like literally people told me to stop touching my face. But it was like a nervous habit of like, I'm losing like the ability, or people are not very loving to me as much as they used to be. What's going on? And so I would like maybe probably touch my face out of a nervous habit. And then it seemed like also I had bangs for a certain amount of years, and it seemed like when I had bangs, it's like if oil was in the hair and it touched my face, then like it made my forehead break out. So I didn't feel like the boy version of the ugly duckling, duckling, which is really a swan gooseling or something. Or I really felt like the girl version of the ugly duckling, where it's like, well, technically, I have seen dogs that are gray and they have gray fur. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like a handsome or a pretty look, depending on what gender the dog is, you know? So it's like, why did all these farm animals deem this individual as you're ugly? Like, you think gray's ugly? Well, you could probably do gray in a certain way where it's like it could be a pretty color or a handsome color, you know? You can make it more boy-y, or you can make it more girly. So like to me, like I like wearing gray sometimes. So it's like, but it's like the moral of the story is like someday you are going to be beautiful. And then I grew up in a Christian environment. So I was like, well, if I can't have outward beauty now, maybe I can focus on becoming a beautiful person on the inside. And I tried to become a tender, loving person and focus on my character. I was like, maybe someday people will see my inward beauty and I could be like rewarded, or my life will be more successful because they see the inward beauty. But it seemed like no matter what I have done, like I have failed. And it's like, well, is the whole world, my parents, have they just been looking on the outward appearance? Like, oh, you haven't learned this skill, so, well, it's like, well, isn't that what school's about? Is like people are supposed to teach you these different skill sets so you can like function and handle life and everything that like life has to offer you or whatever, or to be able to live on your own. Like, you're not just gonna be like, I'm born a baby and all of a sudden have all these skill sets to be able to manage your own money, make a decent living, like car mechanics, everything, save for retirement, shop for food. Like, you have to have a certain amount of income coming in to support all your needs and your future needs in case you like get so old that you can't work anymore. And it's so like, part of it is like, I even tried following this health message where it's like people were like, if you change your diet and you eat more healthy, then you're gonna be able to reverse like some of your look, at the very least, become more beautiful, have a more natural prettiness or whatever it's called. And so they're like, go plant-based, go vegan, go mostly vegan. I did that, and it hasn't healed my scars on my face from the acne. So I feel like the girl version of the ugly duckling, and I don't know how to correct it. I don't know how to transform to become a better, like at least increase my physical beauty. And like when I wear makeup, for some reason it seems like I'm allergic to the makeup, where it could actually make me break out more just by wearing makeup. So it's like, even if I'm trying to do a more natural look to like cover up the scars on my face, it's like, well, it does more harm to my skin because I can't find a good natural makeup product, and I don't have all the money in the world to be like, okay, let's try every single makeup company in the world, talk to every single individual in person, because like I have a certain skin tone, but I don't know, like in all these different companies they label things differently. So it's like, how do I know this skin tone that's called something a little bit differently matches up with this one? It's like all over the place. So it's like really hard to like find stuff that works for you if you're like kind of like allergic to the makeup, I guess. So a part of me would love to be able to have some kind of natural makeup where it's like, this actually helps your skin heal and become more beautiful over time as you wear this, and it puts nutrients back into the skin. But do companies actually do that? Because something's wrong with the makeup, because I'm allergic to it, because it makes me break out. Instead of like, okay, let's cover up your acne, it's not gonna make it worse. And I tried, esthetician services, and they're like, this will help get rid of reduced scarring. And I was trying different things, and it was like, yeah, technically the facials kind of felt good, but it didn't really help reduce scarring, or anything. And so it's like everyone's like saying, this is good for you, this will work. And it's like, well, if you actually try it out and then it doesn't make drastic changes, then you're like, well, I guess it didn't really work. And for a time it was making little changes, but then it stopped making a difference. So it's like, I'm stuck being this girl version of the ugly duckling. And I really worked hard on my character to be this nice person. And it's like, tried to be a productive member in society. Well, I went into the wrong career, I guess, because in the career that I had, it's manual labor. It takes way more energy. And like I could really only work like 4 to 4.5 manual hours. They did not pay you for the whole shift, because like sometimes I was there approximately like a little less than 6 hours. They didn't pay you for 6 hours. And so literally it was considered part-time work, but I only literally had the energy for like 4 hours. And then I chose to take 15 minutes like in between each manual service that I did, because it was like a service-oriented job where I was literally helping other people in some way. So it was like I was like choosing to take 15 minutes because we live in a society where it's a fact of life. You have to pee and you have to poop. Well, like, if this is a service-oriented job where, okay, you are required to be in the room with that person alone and you're doing something to help that person, like and it's physically demanding, then it's like I felt obligated, like all of a sudden, if I spontaneously had to go to the bathroom, I couldn't just rush out of the room. So I was trying to make it so all the customers got their money's worth. Well, because I didn't get paid a salary, even though my energy was being more drained from this service job position that I was doing, literally, I ended up getting paid part-time work where it's like, I'm sorry, you can't live on your own. You can't afford to live on your own. You picked the wrong career. Like, you should have gone to school to be like a computer programmer or something. You need a job where you can make millions of dollars. You picked the wrong career. Well, in school, they weren't telling me how if you go to school and you get this 4-year degree and you pay your dues, that you come out and you can make millions or you can make $500,000 in a year. There wasn't that really on the list. There was no one really guiding me to do that. So it's like, it felt like in this service industry, people were taking advantage of me and they didn't value that I was trying to become a beautiful person. Whereas, like, you have a sweet characteristic in deposition in your character. I don't know if I'm wording it right. Or you have a sweet personality where it's like, you really care about the people that you're working on. You really try to love everyone unconditionally who you try to see. And so it's like, at the end of the day, it's like I was taught these Christian values that if you love other people, they're definitely going to value you. It seemed like everyone rejected my love. So then it created this whole thing of like, well, for a time, I guess I became like an ugly person on the inside. Because it's like, if you go through life and you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to love everybody all the time and no one's meeting your love needs, and you're just giving and giving and giving and giving, and you try to love yourself and makeup doesn't even work, or switching to a vegan diet doesn't change and heal your body drastically, where it gets rid of the scars and stuff, you're like, something's wrong with society. And so it's like, society as a whole, it's like you feel like society as a whole has become this very ugly environment where it's like people are just speaking out of their mouth and they don't actually know what is the truth. And they're going to tell you what they think is the truth without any proof. Well, if you actually try to do those things and they don't work, your life experience says, I'm sorry, something's wrong with your advice because I tried to follow it and it didn't work. So I would really love there to be food that I could eat that could completely heal me and get rid of gray hairs or heal my scars and everything. And I'm coming to this conclusion that maybe my whole life I have had inflammation in my body unbeknownst to me, because I've had constant, muscle tension among my whole spine from pretty much my neck down to the bottom of my sacrum. And so maybe I have constant inflammation in my body that I never knew about it. No one diagnosed it. No one checked inflammation levels in my body when I was a kid to be like, oh, you have chronic inflammation, So it's like all these doctors and nurses that are like, I know everything about medicine and health. It's like, where were you when I was a kid to give me a proper diagnosis of what's going on with my body? How come I have scoliosis? Why don't you know the root issue of that? And then if you grew up in a religious perspective, the different versions of the Bible that we have is literally people can bless and curse you, or there's someone in the universe that could bless or curse you. So is there a bunch of individuals that literally have cursed me so drastically that, oh, nail polish chips for me, makeup doesn't work for me, no matter what I eat, it doesn't actually heal my body in full so that I am healthy and my look changes, for the better. So, and then I have a religion where it's like I tried the religion, the Christian religion, and it didn't work. The principles in that. So it's like I tried speaking blessings over my life. Well, and praying for those blessings to come in my life didn't work. Didn't make drastic changes in my physical appearance or even health-wise, so I don't feel chronic muscle tension every single day. So what are you supposed to do? So I'm going to still try to make the best of life, but it's like I feel like I live in this ugly society. I feel like for some reason I have become physically ugly, and if I try to be more positive and try to get the best out of life, it's like certain situations, if you're chronically being attacked or you're in these different negative situations all the time, it's really hard to stay positive 100% all the time. And so sometimes if you're trying to be a more positive, beautiful person, develop a beautiful characteristic, look on the bright side of life kind of thing, find the good in the ugly, sometimes it can be really hard to do that. So I'm doing the best I can, but you have limitations and I have limitations, because it's like if you don't have a group of people where it's like, I love you unconditionally no matter what you look like, I love you unconditionally no matter your energy level, I love you unconditionally even though you don't have the skill set to be able to live on your own. So it's like I have felt like I need to get with a group of people where it's like we have high morals and it's like we all live together and it's like you're all doing your part to contribute. So, because literally I may have energy to clean a little bit or read books a little bit. I am sleeping a lot. Like the majority of the night and sometimes the majority of the day. So what does that mean? There's definitely major health problems going on where it's like, I'm not getting better. I'm not necessarily getting worse and worse, but something's going on health-wise. If you go to the mainstream doctors, they're going to be like, oh, you can walk, you're fine. Because at one point, I had a friend and they're like, I was in a terrible car accident where my hip got out of alignment. They had to surgically put muscles and the bone back in place, and the doctor did a misalignment, and she was claiming she had a pain level at a 5 to 8, like constantly all the time. Well, what exactly does that mean? Because I pretty much predominantly my whole life, when it comes to my spine and the muscles, not the bones, but the muscles by my spine, it's like, well, what is a pain level for chronic muscle tension? How do you know what pain level you're actually on if that's what you've pretty much felt your whole life? So, and I have been trying to walk the block around my whole house, And literally, I have a fat tummy, and it's like, if you're pretty much walking every day, why isn't this weight in my tummy going away? And people are like, it's because of your age, your hormones are wrong. And I'm like, that's not necessarily true. If you're pretty much on a plant-based diet and you're walking around the block and you're pretty much exercising every day, you shouldn't have a fat tummy at all. So it may be not as fat as like my clothes still pretty much fit that I have. So it's like, but you can see the tummy in some of my shirts. So like, again, trying to do the best I can, but it's like, did someone curse me so much that it's like, oh, now you look like you have a fat tummy a little bit? And it's like, I was told if you eat healthy and you do the best you can to your ability, if you pray over your food, if you speak blessings over yourself, food, give me the proper nutrition I have, then it's like, oh, like, you shouldn't be getting a fat belly. So it's like, me even trying to follow health principles is no longer working. And people are like, you need to eat vitamins. Well, there was times when I was eating vitamins. It didn't cure the whole problem or whatever. So what's the root issue of why my health is so messed up? So if it is a true hypothesis that I've been dealing with inflammation my whole life unbeknownst to me, then that means I wasn't able to ever fully heal from, hey, from time to time, what happened? Oh, I would accidentally cut myself when cooking food, or cutting tomatoes, or cutting an onion, or whatever. I would accidentally cut myself, or a carrot, or celery. Well, maybe I never, like, it took way more time to heal because all these stupid accidents happened, where I was trying to be careful and never cut myself when I cooked. But it's like, well, then your body has to prioritize and heal those wounds to close the skin. So if you have other inflammation in other areas of the body, then it's like, uh-oh, you're in trouble because you're dealing with all this other stuff. So again, trying to do the best I can, but how, like, luckily for this, swan, like, the swan grew into being more handsome. He just needed to wait for the development. It's like, oh, I'm white now, I'm not gray, because like other ducks for some reason deemed having the gray look as being ugly. And so because born gray, turn to white. Okay, awesome. So it's like that principle was there of like, here's this expectation of like, when you get older, you could turn into a beautiful adult girl. You could develop inward beauty. I don't know if it worked or not. I tried. But I guess people don't value inward beauty, or they don't value you as an individual. Like, you're trying your best to do your job and everything, and you're successful with the clients, but you ask for a raise, they don't value as an employee. So, and they don't understand that you only have so much energy, and it's not like people have invented robots to be like, okay, here are the robots that can help you do things. So you have more time to have fun, or you have more time to work and make more money or whatever, or more energy. Because literally, whenever I worked, I put my whole energy into the work, and you come home, you don't have energy to clean the house. I had barely energy to do laundry, like clean my clothes, wash my clothes, make sure they're clean, and put them in the dryer. Folding them was a chore. So it's like, it doesn't mean I can't fold my clothes and put them away, but it's like, if you only have so much energy, how do you do everything yourself? And if you have some kind of severe health conditions where literally you went to doctors and they never diagnosed you properly. So it's like everyone says, I have all the answers. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a doctor. I went to school and I got a doctorate. Well, then how come you couldn't diagnose me properly? And be like, oh, you have health conditions. Oh, if you have a mental health disorder, maybe it's because you didn't get a good education. Has nothing to do with emotions or whatever, or hearing voices. A mental health disorder should be, I'm lacking in being able to understand certain concepts at an educational level when it comes to knowledge. But they're diagnosing people of, you have schizophrenia, you're hearing voices. Well, isn't that the whole Christian religion? You're supposed to hear God's voice. So if you're supposed to hear God's voice, and then you tried to hear God's voice, and then you had experiences where it's like, these are evil villain voices that you're hearing instead, or demon voices, or whoever they are, I guess that means the religion that I grew up in is false. So you can hear voices for no reason. But they're like, you can take medication and the voices will go away. Well, I tried taking medication. It didn't make the voices go away. So I literally had to become this evil person where I lied. I'm like, yeah, it's working. Your medication's doing wonders. It's making the voices go away. There's some chemical imbalance in your brain that's making you hear voices in your own head. Okay, self-love. If you love yourself, you're not going to compartmentalize your own thoughts in your own brain and be like, I'm gonna be an evil villain to my own self and say I hate you, or I think you're ugly, or like some evil, like, oh, everyone wants to murder you or something. Like, you're not gonna tell yourself, if you truly love yourself, that everyone's gonna murder you. But they're like, oh, your own brain is doing this to yourself. No, that doesn't make any logical sense. Maybe you all need to go back to school and learn real science and try to figure out what the heck is going on in the universe, because you don't seem to have any logic or understanding in your brain when it comes to the mental health wards. And I've brought up the whole thing where my brother, it seems like anytime he talks, he's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so he's made statements of like, one time he's like, oh, don't you know the English language is designed to curse you? We're speaking a cursed language. Like, I bring that up again years later, and I'm like, I really believe, like, maybe I forgot to tell him, oh yeah, I really believe what you told me that one time. We're speaking a cursed language where the words we speak actually could curse us or someone's cursing us or something, or someone messed up the language so drastically that we're speaking a messed up language that is drastically cursing us or isn't making it so it makes our environment better. It's just making it worse and worse and worse. We need to fix the language somehow and have the proper sounds of the letters of the alphabet and relearn how to speak. And everyone acts like, oh, the language is fine. You don't know what you're talking about. So, okay, well, if I don't know what I'm talking about and you're all deeming me as like, you really don't have the ability to comprehend and think and understand things at all, then maybe you, government of the United States of America, should just put me on permanent disability. And give me a check in the mail and be like, you are not responsible for supporting yourself anymore because no one believes that you have the ability to think and understand and comprehend words. That's what I think should happen. If you can't teach me and make it so I make a decent living where I can support myself, and my car keeps breaking down all the time and I don't understand how to do car mechanics myself, and then you've created a society for some reason where it's like if you're a adult girl, like maybe an adult boy or man or whatever, for some reason they want to take advantage of girls and charge them for things that aren't necessary because people are trying to make more and more money because we live in a greedy society. Again, this is why I'm like the ugly duckling. Society's ugly. It's like, well, I can't be successful in life if you can't trust your mechanic to give you a fair price for the work on your car. If you don't have the time or the energy to mow the lawn, that means if you bought a house, you would have to pay someone to do it for you. Or you have to live with a bunch of people that you trust where it's like, these are my responsibilities, these are your responsibilities, or you change up the responsibilities. And so people are like, you're talking about communism. Well, we get paid by the piece, paid by the hour, there's a salary. Well, it seems like the whole money system's screwed up where no one gets a fair wage. And everyone's getting into more and more debt. And I'm like, how are all these bills getting paid? Because the only way I was really able to live on my own is literally I had to barter for my living situation. Didn't make enough money to be able to pay rent, so I had to barter. But that took energy away from trying to grow my own business when I had my own business. And then I did make more money working for somebody else for a time, but it's like, I don't know how to do everything myself. And if you have to do everything yourself, literally that takes all your energy from you, where it's like, I thought going to a tax accountant was like, here, the government has a record of all my information of my expenses somehow. Like we're in the digital age. Okay, here, just file taxes. Here you go. Boom. Okay, you know the information. Awesome. I paid you to file my taxes for me. No, I have to add and subtract everything myself. So what's the point of having a tax accountant and paying like $500 one shot when you have to do that math yourself? I'm not an accountant. What if I don't know how to do math at all? That means people who are math illiterate or don't know how to do word problems, what does that mean? Oh, it's gonna take way more work to be able to do all this themselves because they have to figure out the math calculations themselves. Or whatever. So it's like, sometimes I wish society is like everyone got just paid a salary and somehow you wiped out getting paid by piece. And it's like, hey, you could go into a grocery store and based on what you're learning or whatever, what you're doing or what you're able to do, somehow it covers like all your expenses. And it's like, oh, you're doing your best to contribute to society. You're not trying to be lazy. You know, you have health problems. Here, okay, you get a salary. Like, there's a way to work from home, do what you can with your energy. And it's like, here's a certain amount of food. Okay, maybe you don't get to live in a house. Maybe you get a apartment. Here you go. Again, when I talk about this, they're like, oh, you sound like you're communist. It doesn't necessarily mean everyone gets paid the same, though. Or there could be like, oh, you're able to work more. Okay, here's an incentive of extra things you get if you work more hours or something like that. Here's extra perks. So there's different ways you could set up society where it's like, oh, you're motivated. Okay, you're working more hours. Oh, you get more clothes options or whatever. Here's your basics of what you need. Okay? But it's like society ain't set up like, let's make sure we meet everybody's needs in society. And it's like, well, if everyone's about getting rich and being greedy, does the rich people, if they have 7 houses, do they really use all their houses at one time? You can only be in one place at one time. Do you really need 7 mansions? Do you need 7 mansions? If you're super rich, please, in the comment section, if you are a super rich person and you have 7 mansions or 5 mansions or 1 mansion or 2 mansions or whatever, do you really efficiently and effectively use all those mansions? If you have 12, do you live in 1 mansion per month? Like, how does it work? Please put it in the comment section. Definitely interested in that. So anyways, again, greedy society where it's like the rich, it's like, are the rich the problem? Are the politicians the problem? Is the whole world the problem? Because literally, I've talked to people and I was like, let's do something to fix society. And no one wants to do anything to fix society. So we're just going to complain about society and we're not going to come together as a community to make changes. Be like, I don't like this. Well, then let's get together and make changes. Don't tell me that you don't like something if you're not willing to implement changes. If I knew how to implement changes, I would. So if other people actually know how to change society and create a different kind of money system, where it's like, this is how I think the money system works, or hey, we're going to try different money systems, see which one works the best for society on a massive level. Okay, I think this might work better. Okay, let's switch over, let's try it. If it doesn't work, then switch it to something else that might work better. Okay? How do you do it? Because literally, money is really an exchange of goods and services, right? It's like if you went back to the bartering system, where it's like, okay, you have this skill. That was your job. Okay. And you have a certain amount of people for the community that you are required to do that skill for, like in the old days, blacksmithing. Well, you can only work so fast and there's only so much, time and energy that you have. So if like you're the only blacksmith in town, well, it's like, well, if everyone has these problems all at once, well, I'm sorry, it's going to take some time to, fix those shoe horses or steel products, right? You're not just going to be able to do everything real quick, right? Because it takes time. It's manual labor. You don't have machinery to just fold steel and do whatever, right? Or metal, right? So it's like you have that, but we have machinery, we have factories where it's like, oh, now you can mass produce things, right? So you don't have to do everything by hand or all the stuff by hand yourself. You have machinery to help you. So why aren't things more efficient and actually the price is going down or cheaper? Or it's like, oh, when the blacksmith did it, you would need maybe 1,000 hours worth of coins for that product, if that's really how long that particular blacksmithing thing took. Be like, you have to pay the blacksmith by the hour, because, if you were on a money currency, it's like, this is how long it actually took you. And this is what you get paid by the hour. So 1 equals 1 hour. So you put that in pennies, okay, or pennies could be, this is by the minute, or pennies could be, this is by the second. Dimes are, or 5-cent pieces, or technically, pennies could, like, the coin system would be like, okay, this is by the second. The dollar system is, this is by the minute. Then you have the $100 up to 1,000. This is by the hour. So it's like, calculate things by the hour. Don't calculate things by the piece. I don't know. It's just an idea. But it's like, how do you calculate energy being drained? Where it's like, okay, this is how long it takes to make this. Okay, so if you calculate things by the hour, and that's why I'm saying it might be better to go to a salary, where it's like, well, if you need a bunch of things in society and you can't do everything yourself because everything takes longer to do yourself, because it seems like we lived in a sinful, cursed environment, right? So you need machinery to help you do things and compensate you so things can run more smoothly. Then it's like, it might be better switching everything over to a salary, so it covers all your living expenses, your food expenses, retirement in case you get so sick that you can't work anymore. So again, this is my rant. This is me venting about, I don't like how ugly the society is. If I could change my looks and my personality and be super positive and happy all the time, I would love to live in that environment. But I'm also trying to be realistic. So, do you all know how to actually effectively change society and make it better? If you do, please implement these changes in society, the United States of America, or even worldwide, and change it and make it better so we can come together and work together as a community. Not against Christian moral principles and high morals, by the way. Still believe in freedom of choice, but maybe that could be done in a different way. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, feel free to put anything in the comments section where it's like, do you know how to change society? Feel free, if you have any ideas, to put that in the comments section. Until next time.